and making sure that their buildings were going to be prepared for the next for the 13-14 school year. And so I did not want to interrupt that. I shared that with them, communicated that with them, and thought that the best time to do that was to bring them in early in the morning. Of course, I fed them as well. That's always a good draw. But I issued conference invitation to civic partners, and that was the community partners that we have here everywhere, from municipality to the local media, the executive branches, like I said, civic and faith-based organizations. Anybody, Kiwanis, anybody who would invite me, I put my name out there as an invitation if I was called, that I would come and introduce myself and bring a shared vision of what my entry plan was going to look like. And we'll talk more about that as we go through. Also ensured continued upward trajectory work towards existing high school from a persistently low achieving status. I knew about the status when I came here. I knew about the district status, and that was a key indicator of success, is to continue that work, and which I believe that we did working together. Coordinated leadership transition with KDE educational recovery team members. There was some changes in the leadership once I got here from the ER team themselves. Miss Ann Burns, if you remember, she probably came in and presented to the board a couple times, or at least accompanied Robbie and also Martha Williams possibly. But that transferred and was transitioned over to Carolyn Spangler. And I've known Ann for many years and worked with her on other areas and projects. A wonderful, wonderful educator, and so was Carolyn Spangler, and we didn't miss a beat, I don't think. Assumed a position on the PLA leadership team at the school, which met each week to make sure that I was immersed in the process of PLA and school turnaround. And really we focused on, or my focus, and although Dr. Fletcher and his faculty and staff have done a tremendous job, and all indicators are pointing to that continued trajectory of improvement, what I focused on were 3 of the 5 categories of the school report card and our classifications. And that's what college and career readiness, the graduation rate, and the ACT scores. So really that's what I was focusing in on. I believe that those are the gold standards of measurements of student achievement in the high school level, 9 through 12. They're certainly a reflection or culmination of K-12, but those are key indicators of the success for the high school. So once I got here, that was a priority for me, to get involved and immersed in what they were doing at the high school. That was the most important work at the district at the time, and I think it still is when it comes to achievement. Next. To continue on, Comprehensive District Improvement Plan. We've discussed this document. This is a required document for every district. And what I did was took immediate action to revisit and update the CDIP document, and ensure the CDIP drove district decision making with a sense of urgency. And this was really, as I have shared with the board many times, when I came to the district, I had a good idea. I'd done my homework about the challenges that existed here. I certainly do not, and still do not, think of myself as Superman. I was not a glutton for punishment, but I did believe that I wanted to be a part of this transformation process in Martin County. And I'm glad to be here, and it's been a thrill ever since. And so one of the audit deficiencies was that there was a lack of leadership capacity in ensuring that there was a sense of urgency about what we need to do to improve student achievement. And that is driven by our district improvement plan. That's our plan. That's how we improve. That's how we've agreed. That's our covenant within this community on the things that we need to be doing to improve our district. And we're making progress on not only our district improvement plan, but also our school improvement plans, because they must be congruent. They must be in alignment. Evidence that staff can articulate the district's direction and focus. I remember when probably the first, maybe the second meeting that I had with my district administrators, we sat around this table, and the first question I asked, I said, you have a piece of paper laying in front of you, it's a white piece of paper, I want you to jot down the district's mission statement. Now this was, or the vision. I gave them a choice, write down the district's mission or vision, and it was a difficult task. And that's not a reflection upon the people that were here. It was a reflection upon the leadership capacity that, not that it became unimportant. It was not a priority. And if there's one thing that unifies a group of people, it's a common vision and a common mission. We continue to work on that, and I'll talk about that again in just a moment. But What we needed to do and what I took upon as leadership portion was challenge the status quo and leading change in personnel, finance, facilities, curriculum, instruction, and assessments. Student performance data. Again, this is a document that comes from the state, the school report card. It is an incredibly complex and deep document. It goes down from an overall classification of our school district right on down to an individual student in the second grade, or rather in the third grade. So it's a very important document that informs our instruction. Again, the documents that drive instruction are very important to a school district, every school district and any school district. And so we have to bring those documents to the forefront and make sure that everyone knows that these are the documents that drive and inform our instruction. And I believe that it has helped us a great deal over the last 12 months. So the student performance data was also presented to the board. Each principal, if you recall, back in the October time frame when we received the school report cards, each principal, including Ms. Martha Williams, came in and gave a presentation on those, as well as my overall district presentation of academic achievement. The agendas and updates on effective school improvement activities created a working relationship with the board, I believe, that resulted in a shared vision on the direction that we needed to go. And I know that the two main objectives or priorities in the board's mind as a whole was, number one, was finances. We needed to address that and get it under control and make it transparent. I believe we've done that over the last 12 months, but please keep in mind, as it has been brought up many times, you know, we kind of, what's more important? Is it more important to worry about the money and the finances, or is it about the children directly? Well, it's both. It's both. And I don't think we need to sit down and prioritize what's most important. It's all important. It's all important. Both of them. Two sides of the same coin with those two areas. So creating a working relationship with the board, I believe, resulted in a shared vision of what we wanted to go forward with, which guided the schools and to prepare our students for to enter the changing world of the 21st century. And that's what it's about. And we'll talk about the dashboard here in just a moment, but this is a good example of a shared vision. And putting this dashboard up on the wall when we come in here each month or each board meeting, or for anyone in the community. And this room is used a lot in the community. It's used by not only educators, but other people in the community come into this room. And I've answered many questions when somebody says, well, what's this? What's this mean? That's what that dashboard is for. It's there as a reminder where our key indicators of success are when it comes to college and career readiness. Next. Here are some of the areas that I have led and been involved in to ensure that we continue on with our initiative or our innovation and our creativity to further student achievement in our district. Advanced placement courses. We have AP courses and dual credit. I am an advocate for dual credit over the AP. Now, AP is a very rigorous program. Of course, we offer those. AP biology, for one, over at the high school, that is very rigorous. However, an exam must be taken for the credit to be given by the college of choice or the collaborative college. And so the students may or may not pass that, and the failure rate is rather high. But it is rigorous, and it gives that student a challenge, those high-end students a challenge, gifted and talented. Dual credit, however, is a course taught by our teachers who are adjunct professors with collaborative universities and post-secondary institutions, including the community college down in Prestonsburg. Very successful. We'll talk about more of that in just a moment, but our limiting factor in that is our teachers. We've got to have teachers who are qualified and meet the criteria to be adjunct professors, and that's 18 hours above their undergraduate or their core content. If they're math teachers, then they've got to have 18 hours above their undergraduate in that content area in order to qualify to teach the dual credit. Board, we need that. I'm focusing, that's one of our next steps that we're going to focus on incentivizing. I've spoken with leadership, Dr. Fletcher and some others that have been here, especially in the high school area. It has been tried, incentives using the SIG grants that we've received, the school improvement, did not meet a lot of success. And so we're going to try that again. I will be coming back to the board to say, look, this is my proposal. Much like the National Board Certification Teaching Program, we have to incentivize the behavior that we desire to have for our kids. Because if we don't get that, then our kids, they don't have that opportunity. The dashboard I just spoke of, the Craft Academy. Mr. Joe Craft, a native of Hazard, down in Perry County, I believe, in the energy industry, he gave Morehead State University $4 million. And it is a complement to or a mirror of what you may know as the Gatton Academy. Now, the reason why I have that up there is because it's an initiative that we're going forward with in our STEM. And we've talked about that many times. We've got to pump life into that because the incoming class of 15 and 16 will have the opportunity for the junior and senior. So our sophomores this year are eligible for it to be selected for the Craft Academy at Morehead State University next year. So we're going to push that hard this year. It would be embarrassing to me if we did not have at least one student from Martin County selected for the Craft Academy. And that's where they will spend the last 2 years of high school, on campus at Morehead State University. That's an exciting opportunity for our kids. And what that does, it's a high tide raising all boats. You have kids who are competing for that. And you sell that, you market that, and what we'll do in the middle school and even earlier for those kids to be prepared for that rigor. And they've got their all their required courses, they're set up, they're on a path of success. And so I'm hoping to see at least one student, if not two, from Martin County to be selected for the first class of the Craft Academy. The CT4GC, that's a co-teaching for gap closure. This is an initiative that we started last year. It's specific to the middle school. And what this does, it creates an environment to where our teachers are working together. Whether it's a math teacher and possibly a drama or an arts and humanities teacher. It could be a language arts and a physical education. It's where the two content areas come together that we can really build some authentic learning for our students. The District Innovation Group. District Innovation, there's so many. If you recall, I placed each board member and also district administrators on the KSBA newsfeed. And each time I open that up, I'll look at it and I'll see all these great things going on. And I'm thinking in my mind just like you are. Why not here? Why can't Martin County do that? Well, we can. We can. And so what I've done is created a dig. And that is a district innovation group. When I have something that comes across, if a board member or a teacher or something that comes from KSBA that sounds, hey, this fits Martin County. I think we can do this. I give it to this group. This group is selected people from each school, one or two representatives, at least one from each school, and they meet and they look at these initiatives. They look at these and they analyze, they call, they make references wherever they're doing this great innovative strategy over at District X. They call, they may visit that school or that district and find out how they got it to work. Because listen, programs are only as good as the people that are in them. But rather than, and districts have a tendency to do this sometimes, we get bogged down in let's do this, and let's do that, and let's do this, and let's do that. So what we need to do is come together in a unified group, and that'll be my dig group, of when I give it to them, this group, they'll analyze it, tear it apart, synthesize it, bring it back together and say, yep, we can do this. And this is what we have to do to get it done. Or, no, it's not what we need right now. The DAT team, the district analysis team, when I came here, one of the areas that we needed to improve upon was the getting rid of the smokestack. And we were a school system rather than a system of schools. And we're working towards making sure that we're a system of schools. The communication was great within the school buildings. There really wasn't any cross-feed of that communication. Especially when it came, you have 3 elementary schools, and we had 2 middle schools at the time, but 1 now, and a high school. We want congruency and alignment, continuity, all the way through. Whether we're talking about, and most people understand when we talk about an 8th grade basketball team, that coach of the 8th grade kind of is, the varsity basketball coach kind of leads the discipline, kind of leads the strategies of winning basketball games. And you don't want it to be a culture shock when those 8th grade go up to the 9th grade to play under a different coach. So there's an alignment there. We want the same thing with our content. Well, the district analysis team for their assessment, When we receive a school report card, when we receive assessment results, MAC results, K-Prep results, end of course results, any of the assessments for our students, we give it to this team. There are 4 diverse people of diverse backgrounds and certifications and very bright here at Central Office. And those 4 people analyze that data. They pick it apart. Because what was happening, you know, we had this school doing it, this school doing it, this school doing it, and they were doing a good job, but there was no cross-feed. So what we needed to do was to have a unified understanding of that school report card when you drill down. So the DAT team undertakes that, and then they go out and they speak to each principal. If they want to address the site-based council, they'll do that, and the faculty and staff, and they'll talk about their data for their school. It's a much more efficient process. Enrichments, summer extended school, the ramp bus, that's moving here in a couple of weeks. Thank you all, we signed that last night. It's an exciting time, and I have, Marcy Hale has done just a brilliant work in making sure that that process kept moving along, and we've got that done now, and I appreciate that. We're going to let you know that first day or that first week, and you can go over and take a look at it. Extended school service, thanks to our board member, Mr. Harless. He saw that, I believe, on a KSBA possibly feed, and said, hey, why not Martin County? So we worked on that. I worked with Marcy Hale on food services, and we made that happen. 2 nights a week. It was a pilot program at the high school. Next week, or next year, next steps, we hope to expand that to 4 nights, and then to the middle school. So that's an excellent program. It goes right along with the CEO, which is the free lunch for the participation. The great thing about it is that the hook is, it's academics. If you stay for tutoring, if you stay for extended school, whether it's your coach who's helping you out a little bit, or your teacher, or whomever, you get to eat free. And anyone else, you could be a basketball player practicing. As long as there's extended school enrichment services going on for the 15 or 20 kids, then anyone in the school can come over. Except for board members. So, just to see if you're still awake. Individual, did you go over one even at all? I tell you, it's a beautiful thing. Yeah. It was. Those kids really enjoyed that. The numbers were up around, I think, 50 or 60 there at one time. So it was very successful, and it's going to continue on this next year.
Hopefully someday we can get that, even at that elementary.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully we can get that at the
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Because the hook is academics. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you're participating in extended school enrichment services and academics, and whether it's tutoring or study, self-study, then you get this.
It's like with high school. A lot of high school kids can go out and find something.
That's right.
The elementary kids.
You're right.
They can't.
You're right. You're right. The expense, if I may say, for that is the transportation specialist for them. But I believe we're going to be able to support that. Individual learning plans. This is key. It's vital to our college and career readiness. It begins in the 6th grade. When I got here, it was only being done a little bit in the 8th grade. So the 6th grade now and the 7th grade and 8th grade, we put, fortunately, when we merged, we had 2 counselors at the middle school. One of those, and also another technology teacher, that's what their job was primarily. They were focused on the individual learning plan. And really, it's a journal diary for the students beginning in the 6th grade of career exploration. It's just a pivotal piece, critical piece to our college and career readiness for our kids. That's where they start exploring their career pathways and really what they're interested in. And it's an intuitive program as well, meaning it'll help guide the child through, because there are surveys and other instruments on there that'll help that child think, hey, well, if I've got this talent or this life, here are the list of jobs or careers that may fit my hand. Instructional rounds is really focused on the leadership of the district together in what good teaching looks like and learning. It's focused on the teacher, the student, and the content. And as we go into the buildings, it just gives, it's a couple of prongs. One, we look at instructional strategies and what's called a problem of practice. For example, we would go into, the principals would invite into the school, and the principal, after having talked with their faculty and staff, and they're trying to come up with a unified strategy to address questioning technique in the classroom. Questioning technique is very important in exploration and probing to get students to come to an understanding of a subject. And so questioning technique is very important on how you do it. And so we would come in the instructional rounds, we would go into that school building, typically 2 by 2 in selected classrooms, and we just observe the instruction that's going on. It's a wonderful process. of improving instructional practices as professionals. And the other thing is, it really diminishes over time the anxiety of teachers that they experience when an administrator or their principal or their supervisor or other teachers' peers come into their classroom. The third benefit of that is that under the new professional growth and effectiveness system, evaluation system, there is a module of peer reflections or peer reviews, much like physicians have peer reviews. In fact, instructional rounds is patterned off of the medical practice. You've probably seen it on TV or something where the residents follow around the chief resident and they talk to patients and they all try to diagnose. Basically, that's what instructional rounds. It was developed out of Harvard, and it is an extremely effective tool to use to improve instructional practices across the board. March Against Drugs, National Board Certified Teachers. Thank you, Board, for offering the stipend of $500 to offset the out-of-pocket expenses. That's an incentive for teaching, and that is a professional development opportunity. We have currently 3 candidates for the National Board Certified Teacher this year. National Instructional School Leadership, NISL in short, is a new initiative by the Kentucky Department of Education under post-secondary institutions. The NISL program will be selecting PLA representatives, and in fact we were required, because we were PLA, we were required to offer up 1 candidate from the high school to be involved in the NISL, and we have that. And also they gave us a free candidate from district, and so we now have 2 folks in the NISL. I believe you and I spoke of this briefly about the Chamber of Commerce has a program that's very similar to the Principal Executive Training.
Okay.
By the way, this is, what happens. We look and we, just like we look at the KSBA and we steal people's ideas, well, the KDE looked at the Chamber of Commerce and said, hey, that's a pretty good program. Let's see what we can do with it. I didn't go through the Chamber program, but I know a close friend of mine did, and he said, look, everybody should go through this. I've never been treated so well as a professional. The Chamber does a great job. Operation Preparation, that's for our middle school. That's where it starts. Also, we did it for our 8th grade and our 10th grade, but we will expand that as we move on. The P16 Collaboration is another initiative that we are involved in our district as we move forward to make sure there's alignment through preschool through post-secondary education, 4 years. District recognitions, I believe that is a good initiative that we have installed for our board. And although sometimes we have a team of kids, there may be 20 or 30 on there. It matters to one of them. It may not matter to 19, just for example, but one of those kids, they will not forget. Remember, people often forget what you say to them, but they never forget how you treated them. So I appreciate the board having the time and making the time and being patient with our kids, and I know that you want that. Also, our faculty and staff in the district, they deserve that recognition, and I tell you, it was the highlight of my year to recognize Tammy Gerald the other night.
Great.
I tell you, it just gives me chills just to think about that. That's the caliber of people, citizens, that we have here in Martin County.
Wonderful.
Standards-based grading is another initiative. It was in its 2nd year. We have expanded that to the middle school. They piloted it at high school in year 11 or 12 and 13, and then this last year we extended that to the middle school, and we continued with that initiative. It's no longer a pilot; it's across the board. Scholarships, as we've talked about many times. What started that out was our discussion on the Tud Hill. So the visibility, once again, I think a lot of things, whether it's finances, facilities, and personnel. The board desired, as any board does, visibility and understanding of district processes. Scholarship, especially since it's so close to funds, the board wanted to have greater visibility. So that Tud Hill really started it out, but I just went across the board. Our kids, I tell you, we've got some very generous donors in our community, number one, but we've got some great post-secondary, including the community college, of donors on their scholarships for our students. And it's just about all of our students have to do is ask, which is a double-edged sword, because for our students to apply for probably 80 to 90% of the scholarships that are given, it's pretty much they just have to sign a piece of paper and say, here's my income level, here's my GPA, and that's it. We like to go a little deeper than that. Without creating an impediment to our community donors. We don't want to do that. We don't want to make this difficult on them. But we do want to put a little bit of rigor into the process. We want our students to think, be reflective, and maybe even a short narrative. So we may have that for next year as a next step. Shaping our Appalachian region, I took a group of leaders down, of district principals and administrators down to the SOAR conference in Pikeville. It was a wonderful conference. Many good things come out of there. The one thing that we had already been working on that it complements SOAR is our work-ready communities. We'll talk more about that in just a moment. I have that down there last. But that's an initiative that we want to keep going because there's a tremendous amount. It's sort of like the Appalachian Regional Commission grants that's been around for years and years. This is going to be a grant funding organization or a conduit. If you remember the Promise Zone, I often tell people, look, they may have not declared us a Promise Zone, so we're going to create our own Promise Zone. We're going to do that for ourselves. I think we've demonstrated that with the recent levy. Strategic planning. The district has never had a strategic plan. Every district must have a strategic plan. We've got to know where we're going. How do we know we're ever going to get there? And that's a 3 to 5 year. And we're working on that now. That's the next step. Teacher leaders. Succession planning. What we don't have in the district, and we have been working on that, we got pockets of it. Whether it's the co-teachers for closing gaps or teacher professional learning communities, there's pockets of it. But it needs to be an intentional, organized pathway of professional development for example, aspiring school leaders. We've got to be able to identify those folks and build leadership capacity in our district. Schools are such flat organizations. They're just flat. You got teachers, and you got administrators, and you got a superintendent. I mean, it's very, very flat. You could have 200 teachers and maybe 10 administrators, and then one superintendent. So it's very flat, meaning there's not a lot of opportunity for upward mobility. These kinds of programs or instruments or opportunities for teacher leaders will help identify those who have an aspiration to move up in responsibilities. The Unite program was at the high school. They won an annual award last year. We said it here to remember that eagle. We got a great partnership with Stephanie Rodriguez. She does great work. In fact, I was just down there last week. They got their camp over at Warfield Elementary School this summer. They're doing great work over there, and I was able to speak with some of the counselors. They were our high school kids. I think there were even a couple of 8th graders in there. But I like working with Stephanie. She does great work. She loves kids. And so does Mark as well. Work-ready communities. I believe that I've sent you information on this. It is a committee of folks in our community across the spectrum. Industry and commerce, educators, lay, retired, classified, retired teachers, just a broad, diverse spectrum of people and backgrounds to come in. And what the focus is really, as the governor spoke of this in his address back in January, when business and industry speak to the leaders of the Commonwealth with an interest in moving to the state of Kentucky, such as someone like Toyota, they're interested, yes, in the infrastructure, the roads. They're interested in tax breaks, utilities. But the number one question that they have that they're interested in is, what kind of workforce do you have?
Yeah.
What kind of workforce do you have? So we need to work on being certified. And what that means is that it shows this Commonwealth that the people of Martin County, this area, are at a specific level of workforce and education, and that we can attract business and industry. I mean, they're not Jeff Bezos, and I think I shared this with you. He's not going to put an Amazon distribution center out our back door when he knows there's not a workforce. Well, he could just go up the road to 64 to Ashland and pick up a workforce or down in Pikeville. We've got to create that here. Next. I know that's a lot, small print.
I don't want to interrupt.
No, please.
You skipped over one, which I appreciate you did on the student government, the student councils.
Oh, did I? Go page up.
But I want you to know, that's probably the first time in school history, and I think the kids did a great job. They
Yes, they did.
Input, so.
Where did I miss that? Oh, student government. Well, thank you, Mr. Harlan. It was the first, and Mr. Baldridge was instrumental in moving that process and that initiative along. And I hope to retain him in some way as part of our experience here. He's a great guy, great role model. Kids love him, and they respect him, and they follow him. They follow him. John Maxwell said it, if you're out and nobody's following you, if you think you're a leader, you're just out for a walk. So, student, that was a great, we even do it at the middle school, and we're going to talk more about that in just a moment. Okay, I'm going to go through these a little more brief, and we'll probably touch upon these as we go through. Okay, the work sessions that we have, I think they're productive as we move forward as a board superintendent leadership team. Plan of action on correcting the deficiencies that was identified in diagnostic review conducted in February 2010, or rather, we got the last one. That's a typo there. It should be, no, it is 2013 by KDE on district leadership. I established a 30, 60, 90-day plan with the leadership and assistance of the ER team from KDE, Carolyn Spangler, Royce Mayo, Mary Crace. They do tremendous work, great work in the state here for turnaround schools and districts. Successfully addressed the KDE financial audit report that was conducted back in July through August of 2013. And of course, we reversed the $950,000 budget deficit. An exit strategy for the state audit report that was received successfully addressed 8 findings. That was by the Adam Edlin and the state auditor. Raised expectations for improved academic performance at each school through the analysis of the SRC. And again, that's a unified, through that team, that district analysis team, that we're able to go out there with a common message and understanding of the SRC. Realignment of personnel allocations, assignments, and compensations, if you recall, last September even. That's when we came out with another board-approved salary schedule because there were some folks in the district that just never were on the salary schedule, and we brought some visibility to that. Raising expectations for improved academic performance from that SRC data, and remember there's 5 buckets or 5 columns that we look at, and that's the gap, growth, achievement, graduation rate, college and career ready. Reviewing and redefining the district commitment to instructional technology. We have a great technology plan. We've got a great E-rate of about 90%, meaning the technology, the $87,000 in technology money that went to the middle school, we paid about 10% of that because 90% came through the E-rate. So it's a great opportunity for us. Gifted and talented services. District-wide, that is the next step that we're continuing to work on. We want an alignment with our academic teams and the gifted and talented because you'll have a lot of the same population in those. Improve teacher, staff, and quality at all levels. Again, National Board Teacher Certification Program and incentivize that. Improving customer service at all points of contact. High expectations for implementation of the Professional Growth and Effectiveness Program. Next week, there's a team of 6 people from our district, including myself, for 3 days, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. We'll be in Lexington for a regional PPGE or PGES conference. That's rolling out across the board beginning school year 14 and 15. And it is incredibly complex and deep. Kind of scary, too. High expectations that we have there. The process of establishing the district's first strategic plan is current. And of course the board adopted the compulsory dropout age of 18. And we're very proud of that. We're serious about the education of our citizens here in Martin County, and we're going to change some of the statistics that are so glaring. The next steps, sustainability of funding, being creative in that. Here's some of the next steps that we want to hit. By the end of school year 13 and 14, that's this year, we're going to hit 2% at least contingency. As you can continue to read down, I project, and I'm going to work very hard in leading this district in into 14 and 15, we'll have a 5%. 15 and 16 at the end of that year at a 10% contingency. 16 and 17, I would like to lead this district to where we have a 20% contingency in our district at the end of the school year. The Craft Academy, as I mentioned a moment ago, as a next step, I'd like to see at least one. And I'm confident that we're going to be able to do that. With all the kids, all the bright kids in Martin County, we're going to have at least one that will be selected in there for the 15-16 school year. And again, they'll spend their last 2 years in high school down there. Academic team realignment with the gifted and talent collaboration. Grandparent program. We have about 35% of our students are being raised, 35% are being raised by their grandparents or someone, our guardian, someone other than the parents. And so there's a generational gap there often of where educators and classified, certified, as educators, we need to reach out and be able to establish a relationship with those, because it can be a generational thing to where, you know, grandparents, they may not understand the technology possibly. They may not understand the core content and curriculum. Mentoring programs. I have talked to the Retired Teachers Association, and they're on board with this. They're eager to participate. And my focus is not only mentoring programs through K-12, but especially our graduates. One of the failure rate indicators for our high school graduates, and really anywhere, it's nationally, when graduates leave high school, they go off to college, they just don't have the support network. There's the transition. It's really tough on our kids. You could be a 4.0 straight A student, and all of a sudden, you know, you got that diploma, and you take 2 or 3 steps in life, and you look around, there's nobody there. Nobody's calling you, saying you're truant, or you're late, or you're absent, or why were you, or where's your excuse. No one. Mom's not getting up out of bed. No, Papa's not hollering at you. You're on your own. And, you know, whether it's the economy, there's a lot of things against kids today, but we want, like the the retired teachers, what I've offered them is that if for those who would participate, I would like for them to take 1, 2, maybe 3 students. Maybe those students who are receptive to the idea, maybe receiving a care package, their birthday, Christmas, maybe a visit to the campus for dinner one night, or a movie, maybe a coupon, or something that they can go, like a gift card, give to the student, a phone card to the student. So, and that's just with the Retired Teachers Association, but that can be expanded. And we have to be very careful, of course, how we do the mentoring programs, but we need to make sure that our kids, when they leave here, that they know that they're still plugged into Martin County. We care about them, and we know about them. Parent University is another initiative, next step that we want to take. This is extended to the folks. It's like a leadership program for parents who want to get involved. Parents typically who are on your site-based meetings, councils, parents who are involved in the PTOs, parents who may be involved in our athletic and extracurricular academic programs. It's an opportunity for them to receive some professional development training. STEM-centered learning continuum, and we want to continue that. We want to be focused on our science, technology, engineering, and mathematics as we move forward. Continue trajectory of academic success towards a district of distinction. Continue visionary planning for new schools construction. That's our next steps. District strategic plan, my individual growth plan, and after this evening and beginning this year, we will continue on, I hope, with these 7 categories of leadership that I need to be demonstrating to this district and to this board for our kids. And finally, the individual learning plan. Next. Standard 2, the instructional leadership. Again, kind of hang my hat on the first sentence there. The core business. And I know I use that term a lot when I think about public schools because we don't operate them very well. We need to operate them more like a business, especially when it comes to the financial aspects. And to our profits. Our profits are our measurements in academic achievement. That's how I look at it. But the core business of school superintendents must always be teaching and learning in a system committed to shared values and beliefs, and challenging, equitable educational programs and learning experience for all students. Next. Again, the CDIP and the CSIPs, from that, we inform that CDIP. Remember, the district improvement plan is our guide, year to year. That's what we do. And it's a living document. If whatever program, whatever money, whatever people, what are we doing to accomplish, and the main focus really is closing achievement gaps. And we want to get to that proficient and distinguished category for our students. And so, we use our K-Prep and our school report card results to inform our instructional strategies. And that's what we've been doing, especially with our DAT team and as we come together in our district administrative teams as well. They come out in October timeframe. The professional development plans, we want K-Prep to inform our IGPGPs or our individual professional growth plans. If we have a math teacher, I mean, in my mind, I try to convey this to our leadership, especially principals who are conducting evaluations and professional development and growth plans. If we have a math teacher and that math teacher's students are not doing very well on their end of course, or not doing well in the K-Prep, whatever it may be, then I can see that data. I mean, the commissioner in Frankfurt can see that. It's visible through the SRC data. And so when I look as the superintendent on evaluations and the professional growth plan, I should see some kind of, here's what you need some professional development in math. And there needs to be some funds set aside for the professional development. And if you remember, we'll talk about this more in a moment, the TEL Kentucky, the surveys that was conducted, the #1 request from our teachers, professional development. Student performance data, that's our DAT team. Formative and common assessments, we get those and work on those through our professional learning communities. Next. Okay, you're familiar with these. These are the 5 buckets that we talk about for our student achievement. What am I doing, or what are we doing as a district? What's your superintendent doing to affect these? Next. And I will provide this PowerPoint to each of you. I'll send it out to you or post it for you so you can have access. We're given an overall score and a percentile rank and classification. Proficient, 70th percentile. Anything below that is going to need improvement. Next. Here's a snapshot of where we were from our last school report card. You can see the district from the previous year in 2012 at 49.2. The annual measurement or measurable objective, which is your ammo at 52. But what we really want to focus on is the classified over here and whether we're meeting our goals. Our percentile rank is 52% of all other districts. We were at 52. And so moving down, you'll see each one of them, each Eden. And when you get down to Sheldon Clark High School, you'll see where it's proficient because it's progressing, high progressing district. We made great gains. Not necessarily because our overall score was high or that our percentile rank, but we went above 70 in our percentile, in our growth. So that classified us as a proficient and high progressing district. Next. The K-Prep data that we have for our schools, you'll see that total achievement for, and we need at least proficient and distinguished. Next. Now this data that I'm showing you is what we put together through our analysis of our student achievement, and then what are the strategies that we put into place to improve these? You've got to have a plan, goes in your school improvement plan. College and career readiness. Now you'll see the Inez and Warfield that we had separated. That's the results that we had last year. This year they'll be combined, of course. But what we saw in 2013 at the high school, the college and career readiness, 67.8. All indicators are we're hovering around 80 right now. I mean, it's fabulous. The college and career readiness for that career technical education piece it's phenomenal. Next. And here's the graduation rate. This is a cohort model. For last year's a 91.9. We're going to be close to that. We're going to be close. It's going to be close. But we're still going to be above the curve, beyond our expectations. Next. Here's a good indicator of ensuring that the board is aware of what's important in our district. And again, it's a picture of the dashboard here. Next year, we're going to have not only these models on our dashboard, but we'll also have the school attendance. So when you come in here as a board, or when the public comes in here, they're going to see what our attendance data is. And you remember that old saying, what gets inspected gets respected? Principals want to make sure, they're going to tell their folks, hey, over there in central office, where the University of Kentucky president, Dr. Capilouto, or Dr. Andrews from MSU, when they come, and they do come into this room and did last year, they're going to look at this and go, what's the attendance? What's the value of education here in Martin County? So that's really an incentive. And of course, we've talked about attendance, and we're going to incentivize that, to bring that up and keep it up. Next. Our next steps, set goal is a proficient school, each one of them. We want to close achievement gaps, celebrate our achievements, which we've been doing, and everything starts at the top. You know, when we start celebrating our student achievement here at the board meetings and our faculty and staff, guess what? Then, again, high tide raises all boats. They're going to start doing that in schools because they want to be recognized. Our students want to be recognized. You would not believe. I mean, one of them was kind of curt, saying, why didn't my kid get recognized this month? And so, you know, we bring them in, we recognize them. And that's important, that's important. Next. We want to reduce our novice. Now, this is from the data that you just looked at. It's so very important for the board to understand where our data. Now, I would expect the board to get down in the complexities of getting in the weeds of where each student in grade 4 may be located. It's all right, just let her come back up if it will. There should not be a reflection on evaluation.
Keep the power on.
Keep the power on.
Generator, like generators.
It might have been thunder.
It was fun.
We're thundering outside, yeah, I've heard that a while ago, I didn't know.
I hope that's fun.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, something sort of that.
That's it. Oh, we just turned TVs back on. It's just that you know what we need to do. I never know which one's which.
Praying pretty good.
That one's coming on, and that one's coming on.
Was it something you said?
I have that effect.
Ma'am, if you see me nodding, I had to put in a long day, so I mean.
Yeah, I told Gary, I said, look, I didn't have a choice.
It's not boring, I mean, it's not boring, it's just,
Right.
We're just glad he took a shower, right? And you're
Oh, I
always,
didn't take a
you're
shower.
always, you didn't?
no, I.
He's always bringing that up, by the way.
Yeah, I don't, yeah, on Wednesdays, very bad,
Yeah.
very hard.
Long day.
Hmm? Is it coming on?
Could be minutes, it is not.
It should not be blinking.
Right.
It should be blinking.